All right. I can't hold it in anymore, especially since you referenced the Dallas Wings. That's this week's starting five. Now it is time to take a look at what's the beef. I thought that we addressed this last week, Mitch. I don't think we can address it enough. So first I will have a ceremonial reading that then you will let the listeners know where this is coming from.
Okay.
Quote, this is from Wednesday. It would be one thing if the on-the-court product was just bad, but it's the fact that every press conference quote sounds like Matthew McConaughey playing a yoga instructor / camp counselor turned basketball coach at the spur of the moment.
That is from our friends at No Cap Space. I believe that was one of their Vibes Checks newsletter. As I was reading it, I just captured that snippet and sent it to Mia. I believe that was from Chantel Powell, who does great work over there at No Cap Space. But that I loved that description of
our boy Chris K. If you couldn't tell who the
Koclanes.
Matthew McConaughey yoga instructor is.
Yes. There's much criticism that is warranted for Chris Koclanes. But there was a big clip going around over the weekend of him and Dejanay Carrington. And what game is this from? This is they played the Las Vegas Aces. This is, a game
that they led most of the way, might I add.
Right. This is late in the game. And I just want to be clear, I'm on Koclanes' side here. You watch the clip and your initial reaction is why isn't he listening to Dejanay? But if you watch it a couple of times and really study what he's doing, it's clear that he's wasting time and he's looking at his assistants and his staff who are checking in real time, it looks like to me, on iPads. If the play is worth challenging, the one that Dejanay Carrington is screaming at him about, please challenge us, please challenge, the whole thing. He's not listening to her because he has people on the sidelines who are watching it back in real time. And I think he knows that he's going to get better advice from them. And so it's pretty clear to me, in that clip, he's looking at them. You can see him bouncing the ball before he gives it to the official. He's kind of trying to kill some time and milk the clock a little bit. And then it looks like he gets a signal that nah, man, this is not worth challenging. We're not winning this. Okay. So then he moves on. The inbound happens. Meanwhile, Dejanay is still screaming. And so the Wings essentially have to play 4-on-5, and they have to foul Jackie Young at the rim because Dejanay did not guard the inbounds. And I just think that that speaks to the larger disconnect in this locker room. I think there's a disconnect and maybe a broken relationship between Dejanay Carrington and Chris Koclanes. That you lost a game in this way, essentially. This sequence of events led to you losing to the game eventually. And it's not going good in Dallas, as we may have predicted on this podcast. Maybe for not the reasons that we thought, but it's not going great.
4-on-5. We don't call this segment "What's the Beef" for nothing. I feel like they literally win the award every single week, Mitch. But ultimately, I think what's going to be even more fascinating is there has been so much conversation since the Dallas Wings drafted Paige Beckers about a trade opportunity with regards to Arike Ogunbowale. And you have 2 point guards, which really means you have none. 2 very ball dominant guards. Is Arike the next out of town? Hot take. Dejanay Carrington may force her way out of town. Also a hot take. She's dating Nalissa Smith, who's also in the starting 5, or at the very least in the rotation in Dallas. Could they both force their way out? And now all of a sudden, they already won What's the Beef for the year, even though it's June 17th.
Yeah, it's not great. In kind of my scrolling and stuff over the weekend, I found this other piece of information that I thought was interesting. This was from, I believe it's a Substack called Wings Bulletin. And so it just has, I'll just read it. So Wintier and McCown walked off the court without staying for the team huddle after the first game of the season.
First game.
Miller Kurt Miller was the person who addressed the team in the next practice while emphasizing professionalism, and to not do that again after Chris Koclanes discussed highlights from practice. So you now have the GM intervening. And this is the first game of the season, so this is a month ago where the GM feels like he has to intervene because he feels like the players are disrespecting his handpicked head coach. I found that to be really weird. Just talking about kind of an on-court product and how this thing is not working at all. Dejanay Carrington, this was a topic of conversation on Twitter as well. Her on-off numbers this year, minus 27.5. Minus 27.5. Enrique Ogunbowale, minus 5.8. Melissa Smith, minus 9.1. I think there's just so many things wrong with this Dallas Wings team, who are now 1-11, might be 1-12 after you listen to this, depending on how things go with Golden State. But like every time I watch them or see little clips of them, in practice and stuff or whatever, it just seems like to me like far and away the person on this team who like has their head on the straightest and is the most professional and cares the most about winning is Paige Beckers. And Paige Beckers can't be the head coach, and Paige Beckers can't play 5 positions. So I just feel like I don't know where this comes to a head. I kind of think that the first thing that's going to happen before Chris Koclanes is fired, because he was handpicked by Kurt Miller. Like, let's remember that. Like, the team hired Kurt Miller as the GM, and he hired Chris Koclanes, who used to work for him at previous stops. I feel like they're going to make some trades. They're going to move some faces off this roster and bring some faces on and maybe try to right the ship before they fire him. And I don't know if that's the right move or the wrong move.
Right.
I just don't think that the way this roster is currently constructed works at all with the style that they're trying to play.
But who constructed that roster?
Kurt Miller. Right.
And there it is.
And I just, this is the first time that Kurt Miller has been in a role where he's totally in the front office. He's hit some speed bumps, let's say.
That's the beef of the week.